Hey there, fellow green thumbs and plant lovers. You're watching the Farmers Market Podcast, your go-to source for all things fresh and local. I'm your host, Stephen Holt, and we're here in the barn to talk about pre-springtime planting. We're talking about planting indoors to get ready for the outdoor season come April and May. Honestly, what should you be planting indoors in early February if you're in South Carolina's zones 7 and 8? Now, I know what you're thinking. The weather's still kind of iffy. One day it's winter, the next day you're outside grilling. It's kind of a weird time of year, but it's the perfect time to start thinking about your spring garden. Now is the perfect time to plant seeds indoors so that they'll be strong and healthy and ready to thrive when it's time to move outside. So grab your seed trays, grab some space by a sunny window, and let's talk about what to plant. First up, let's talk about cool season crops. We're talking about broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale. Cabbage is another solid choice, perfect for slaws, stir fries, or even homemade sauerkraut. So what else can you grow indoors? Well, leafy greens, a great option for growing indoors. We're talking lettuce, spinach, and Swiss chard. All grow quickly and don't require much effort. The great thing about these greens is that they don't take up much space. So if you're working with limited room, you can even grow them on a windowsill and then transplant them outside later. And let's not forget about herbs. Herbs. Or in Europe, they call them herbs. Starting herbs means you'll have plenty of time to harvest them by the time spring rolls around. And they're honestly some of the easiest plants to keep indoors. Parsley and cilantro are great options and a must if you're going to plant herbs inside. Plus, you can also plant some chives. The benefits of growing herbs indoors, man, they smell awesome. Now, if you're thinking ahead to warmer weather, this is also the time to start your warm season crops indoors. Think tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant. Yes, eggplant. All take their time growing, so giving them a good 6 to 8 week head start indoors now in February is the way to go to have tomatoes growing and able to pick come mid-spring. Peppers, whether you're into bell, jalapeno, or banana, they need a longer growing season, so getting them started now will pay off later. These warm season crops like it cozy, so using a heat map under your seed trays will help them germinate faster and grow stronger. Now, before we wrap up, let's go over a few key tips that you probably need to know about when starting your plants indoors. First, use a good seed starting mix. Do not use soil. You need something that's lighter, fluffier, that drains really well. Speaking of water, let's talk about water. You don't need a whole lot when you're starting seeds inside. You just need the soil, the mix, to be moist, not damp, just moist. Let's talk about light. Light's critical for these little guys. Once your seeds germinate, you're going to want to either have them in sunlight on a windowsill, or you're going to want to have some grow lights. Grow lights are really inexpensive, so if you don't have a whole lot of sunlight coming in your apartment, your house, they are great options to think about. And remember that heat map. You've got to think about the temperature when growing inside. Cool season crops love to germinate between 60 and 65. Warmer weather crops love to germinate between 70 and 75. So keep that in mind when you're growing indoors. You can't put everything in the same space necessarily. Oh, and here's a big tip. Remember to label your trays. There's nothing like watching seedlings grow and they kind of look the same and you don't remember which one it is. So that's a pro tip. Make sure you label your trays or label your seeds so that you know what you're growing and what you're going to be taking outside. So that's it for today's episode. I hope you're feeling inspired to get those seeds started and get your garden going and giving it a head start now and ready for the spring. Hey, whether you're planting leafy greens, herbs, or warm season favorites, starting now means a bigger, healthier harvest down the line. And if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It helps for other people who are planting find the podcast. And if you want to hear the full podcast, search for on your favorite podcast player, Farmers Market Podcast. Or you can go to our website, farmersmarketpodcast.com. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think. There's plenty to hear, plenty to listen to. We usually have a garden tip of the week, a feature farm, a market highlight. We talk about the markets and we talk about all the different vendors that you can find at a farmer's market. So I'm Stephen Holt. Until the next Farmer's Market podcast, keep it fresh, keep it local.